been anywhere near AI this year, you have heard the term RAG, retrieval-augmented generation, and most of what is out there tells you what it is and then stops. I want to do the more useful version, which is where RAG actually fits, and just as important, when you're better off not reaching for it. At the core, RAG just lets a model look things up before it answers, instead of leaning on whatever it happened to memorize in training. The way I think about it is a closed book exam versus an open book one. On its own, a model is sitting the closed book exam, and when it does not know something, it tends to guess confidently, which is exactly where those clean sounding wrong answers come from. RAG hands it the open book, so it goes and retrieves the relevant passages, drops them into the prompt, and answers from that material. This is the whole name, really: retrieve, augment, and generate. Now, this is the part I care about most because it's where I watch teams spend time they didn't need to. RAG is one of the four tools, not the default. If the knowledge you need is large, or it changes, or it's private, RAG is a good fit. But if what you actually want is to change how the model behaves, its tone, or its format, that's fine tuning, not retrieval. If the knowledge is small and basically never changes, just put it in the prompt and move on. And if the task has real steps where it needs to go do things and recover when they fail, that's an agent, and it might use RAG as one of its tools. In practice, most production systems end up combining these, so it's less about picking one and more about knowing which job each one is doing. Pushback I get lately is, look, context windows hold a million tokens now, so why retrieve anything? Just stuff it all in. And the reason is cost and reliability. If you load the whole corpus every time, you pay to process all of it on every single question, where retrieval only pays for the handful of passages that matter, and that gap can be something like 300 times. On top of that, accuracy actually drops as you fill the window up. The stuff buried in the middle gets missed. So the strongest setups I have seen use retrieval to pull the relevant slice and then let a big context model reason carefully over just that. And then here's the honest part. Every RAG failure I've hit was in the plumbing and not the model. In the past, I've built a customer support assistant, fine-tuned it on good answers so it sounded right, and used retrieval to feed it the current specific answer to each question, and it worked. It demoed great. The trouble was a lot of it ran locally, and we hadn't really defined the stress testing before rollout. So maintenance and scaling and hardening are where it bit us. Local RAG thing, answering one person is easy. The same setup taking live customer traffic is a different animal. The flip side is the knowledge base I run for my own research, which is pure retrieval, no vector database even, just a curated index, and it stays reliable precisely because its scope is honest. So the real lesson is that the difficulty scales with how many people depend on the answer and not with how clever the retrieval is. And so there is a nice knock-on effect for anyone in SEO where if the AI answer engines are basically RAG systems, then getting cited by them is a retrieval problem where your page is a candidate chunk and it wins or loses on whether that chunk is clean, self contained, and clearly about the question. Which, if you've ever cleaned up a messy data source, that does sound awfully familiar. Writing to be retrieved and writing for search are quietly converging into the same discipline. So that's the short version. RAG is not magic, it's not obsolete. It's a data pipeline with a model on the end, and it's only as good as the plumbing and the scope you hold it to. The full write up is on my site, including the 4 tool breakdown and where it breaks, and the link is in the description. I would genuinely like to hear how you're drawing the RAG versus fine tuning line on your own builds. Thanks for watching.